aren't quite legal. The 30-inch ones are not. Those don't qualify, and those aren't actually legal on state roadways. One thing when you're going through your vote that you may want to consider beforehand is who actually gets to vote. Is it one per household?
One per household.
One per household.
Okay. You do want to make that clear when you're doing something like that, because there's a
We'll let
invariably
the husband
gonna
and
be-
wife argue it out.
We just do enough of those situations.
Invariably that will come up.
And I think we can probably, we won't just have one illustration of Village Drive with the 2 humps. We'll have a couple illustrations and step people through the conversation so that if they follow the pictures and the words, they'll have a pretty good understanding of what we're gonna do. And at the end, it's like, do you like it or not? Yes or no? Is that the only question we wanna ask?
Well, the one thing that should be, and I don't think is on that, and I didn't look at it that close, but I don't think it is on the sketch, is I think you should designate the areas that have existing stop signs,
We can provide
so that people can visualize
where they are.
where they are.
Okay, we can include that.
I mean, we have this issue all the time where somebody will call me and say, hey, where's my property line?
Oh, right,
And then we have to take our map and go out there and,
yeah.
you know,
People generally,
roughly
yeah.
measure it. We're not surveyors.
Yeah.
If they want an accurate, location, then they have to pay for a survey, you know.
Right.
But,
Yeah, we'll put some markers on there so that people can stay oriented as they kind of in their head travel around. Yeah. And I think we just ask, are you in favor of this? Or are you not in favor of this? And that's really the only question we need to ask, right?
Do you want other comments or just yes, no?
It's up to you, how many comments you
Wow.
want to.
You're really,
to
you're
read.
setting yourself up for disaster. You wanna keep it simple.
Believe me, if it's
Put your
just,
number down.
if it's just yes or
Call
no,
Marla.
you will get comments. If people have comments, if they have strong feelings, you'll hear their comments. when
You'll
we-
get other,
guaranteed.
Yeah.
you'll get some more.
We
than
just
you
wanna
would.
make it
Kevin,
really
yeah.
clear that we are talking about 2 speed humps in these places. I just don't want those other 3 to muddy
the
up
water.
the.
Yeah.
I'm just concerned, maybe you have another picture saying, I don't know, I'm just concerned that putting the other 3 humps in there are gonna confuse the issue.
Carol and I make documents to present to people all over the place, all the time. I'm sure we can work this out.
Okay.
It may be something that when you send this out, you go out with a can of spray paint and just spray paint on the road. Right here.
Future hump.
Well, then just put a cane as a note.
Slow down. I mean,
See, that all that
just
paint you
if
still
you're
have
worried
left.
about people knowing exactly where it is.
That's not a bad idea.
I still have 2 cans.
Guerrilla planning. That's about it, to cover darkness and.
And by way of introduction, this is Al.
Sorry.
He's a friend of mine,
Yeah, I didn't, I was gonna say, you
I
live
know.
Who's this guy?
Are you her
Al
straight man
is
or
a
what?
traffic engineer, that's what he does for a living, he does traffic engineering and traffic calming, and he's actually.
Is that how the last name?
Federico.
Federico.
We really appreciate you, thank you. very
I was
much.
intrigued, Carol and I were talking, and I was intrigued, I was free. I do this, and I've been dealing with these issues for a number of years. I would absolutely, actually Crystal and I work together.
Way back.
No, we're not that old.
Good
You know,
answer.
I've seen cases, communities where they've gone and installed the humps, and 3 months later they're gone. So going through the process of getting the buy-in is important, because you don't want the unheard masses to come out to be heard.
After the fact.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
The buy-in is not going to be easy. I can tell you that right
No,
now.
it won't.
It won't be easy.
Well, and maybe if we get a real
And
negative
for-
response,
for
then
the
we
simple
need to have a
reason
different
that-
conversation.
People in our community will say,
What about stop sign?
we're being punished because other people aren't obeying the stop signs, even though they're illegal, okay? So if it would ever come to the 5 or 6, there is no way in hell
Yeah,
that our public would
we
accept
want that
that.
many.
Guaranteed.
And I would have to ask, in response to that, what's your alternative? I mean, within the law, we only have so many obstacles that we can place in a roadway, before we all get in serious trouble. So we're doing what we think we can do now, under current regulations and current guidance from the state, and we're gonna try to make things better, but we can't magically make people obey the law.
I know that, but, in whatever paperwork or write-up that you do put out, okay? Make it idiot-proof clear.
Yes, yes, sir. I have my fourth
Why
graders
the
read it.
stop signs
Yeah.
are not legal. We don't wanna hear just 300 cars an hour or whatever. We wanna hear that all this criteria is not met, okay?
Okay.
So the people can then say, well, hell, there's not 300 cars a minute on Schwenk
Yeah.
Road or whatever, for
Yeah.
an hour. You know, but then they got stop signs or, you know. I mean, this is the way these people are, all right?
I think
They're really concerned about the safety of their children, and so are we.
Absolutely, as they should be,
All right.
absolutely, as are we.
Our main objective as a nonprofit corporation, which we are in the state of Pennsylvania, is the health, safety, and welfare of everyone in our community.
Absolutely,
Period.
yeah.
There is no other reason why that board exists. And that's why we're here fighting for the health, safety, and welfare of our community.
I don't disagree. My kids have friends who live in the community, so I'm in and out of the community a lot as well.
And you're probably running the stop
No,
sign.
I've been particularly conscientious about those stop signs and my speed over the last year or so. But we're all in agreement. Everybody wants safe streets for not just for the kids, but for all of our sakes. And we can't force people who are good, like I say, we can't force knuckleheads to obey the law. Traffic calming is not law enforcement. So the stop sign issue is a whole other thing that the solicitor and the supervisors and Chief Maxey are gonna have to figure out something for. I don't know what that's gonna be.
The unfortunate part about it is, like I said, I've been there for 27 years. And it's just recently that it's become unrealistic, okay?
The last few years.
The last couple of years, maybe 2 years. Before, everybody stopped at those stop signs,
Yeah, yeah.
both ways. All of a sudden, nobody's stopping at the stop sign. I mean, we had Carr and Duff there doing electrical work on Grimley. I watched 2 trucks, one of them a bucket truck, another one a bucket truck with a small backhoe, blow that stop sign at the end of the road right here at 35 miles an hour, if not more. Both trucks just blew right by there.
Did you call Carr and Duff and report them?
And we sent them a
Well,
letter.
we already contacted them because they were doing work on Grimley and they decided that they parked their vehicles in our roadways where people couldn't even get out of their driveway.
Yeah.
I mean, there were 5 trucks there doing one line, all right? I mean, who does that sound like?
Yeah, if I stock your car and Duff.
Yeah,
So, what we're asking the board then for this evening is, I don't know if you guys have voted on that or not, but 2 speed bumps. One on either, or humps on either location, and then obviously if a drawing needs to be
I
done,
think the results of it.
you know, for you guys to allow Carol to do that drawing.
Well, my understanding is, if the community says no, then we should wait, we shouldn't be approving anything tonight, because we don't know what the community's gonna say.
Right, I
We
would
need to
say
approve
once-
her to approve her to get the information.
Give her
Yeah.
Right.
permission to do that,
To develop the
Plan.
information
Oh,
needed.
yeah.
so they can get the
Survey.
information.
Just so we can do the
How
survey.
long- How many hours of work is that gonna take to
No,
do
50,
another drawing?
60.
This is our tax dollars, so. hopefully
About
not.
6 hours.
right, that's what you did for a
I mean, you
living.
already have
I was
AMAC,
manager of
so-
engineering at one time.
We don't spend any money any better than for Carol.
Yeah, I mean, I'm imagining the coordination, putting together a plan that is something that we can disseminate and read. Yes, 6 to 8 hours would certainly be plenty to accomplish that, and, you know, as always, our goal is to be efficient for this township.
So not to exceed number $800 at this point.
Sure. We can do that.
All right, motion to accept, to let Carol go forward with the,
So this is to
Plan.
include the map and all the coordination that will happen, this is the whole.
This is for her to put together the map and for,
Sketches to take the traffic calming committee to use in search.
And the coordination and the emails and the phone calls
Sub
and
it out to
everything
you for
related to
200.
it.
the emails will happen through the
Emails are
homeowners
okay.
association. We will
Yeah,
provide them
We'll take,
with one
we'll
document.
take the lead on the email after
And
we
they'll
get all
take
the
it from there.
So super,
information.
thank you.
So just to be clear, we're talking up to $800 to,
To work, to develop the drawings, to take the traffic calming committee that they can utilize with the survey. So that probably includes some communication back and forth between Crystal and I to figure out exactly
So-
what drawings to develop.
so are you gonna start over again, or are you gonna use something that's already existing?
Well, I'll probably use that same base plan that I was
Most of
just
that stuff
flashing
are
around with
CAD
little
files,
red
isn't it?
lines on it. I mean, I have that
Just
scanned
delete
as a
the
base, that's the old subdivision plan
It's
for
all
this
in
project.
layers.
So if I use that as a base, that minimizes time. It's not a pretty thing, that's what I've got.
We don't need something fancy for the community, do we? We don't need
It
a.
needs to be understandable by the
Right.
community. So you can't,
Very
you can't just take a Google map and put 2 dots on it and say
We
this
already
is what
have
we're
a
gonna
base
do.
map.
You
Yeah.
need
So we're not
something,
starting from zero.
no.
no, it needs to be
Okay.
clear enough that a 4th grader can look at it and understand what they're looking at. And that way, everybody who looks at it will be able to understand it. Because these are, everybody's not used to looking at things in a plan view.
I understand, but I guess I just want to express my concerns that Carol's additional work for traffic calming has been adding up, and I want to ensure that our tax dollars are spent well and that.
I would suggest that the money you spend on Carol is some of the best money you spend in this township. Carol has been here for many, many years. She knows this township upside down and backwards, and the advice and skill that she brings to this job is without question some of the best I've seen in the county. And I work with an awful lot of engineers.
I'm not arguing that, I just want to make, 8 hours is an entire day for a trained engineer to do a map. To me, it seems like a lot, so I'm just expressing my
not.
concern.
My experience is it's not.
Evidently, I wasn't a good manager around here. The one thing, I don't know if you can do, because you probably have this on a CAD file, which I started off with this map, okay, I have this, the whole map. And what I've done is I eliminated all these balloon numbers that are not really house numbers, they're building numbers as they were
Right.
built during the 3 phases, okay? Which will totally confuse everybody, because they're gonna say, well, I don't live at 38, I'm at 119. I developed our map to have exact addresses for every one of these buildings that you see
Do you
here.
have that as a PDF or?
No, I just have it as a hard copy.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know if
Write out
you-
those other numbers
I don't know if
and
you
find
could
them out.
eliminate those balloons with those numbers.
I'm tight on
probably
time,
have-
but I'll see what I can do.
I mean,
That just
in reality,
increases to 1,200.
well,
I'd
no,
like
in
to be able to
reality,
do
you
that.
probably took a hard copy and
I scanned a copy of the subdivision
exactly,
plan,
so the
that's
only way
exactly
you're gonna
right.
get rid of those balloons is
Is
to white them
actually
out.
White
right?
out each one, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Or you just put a footnote in that indicating what those wins stand for, so that people aren't mistaking that at all.
No, that would
My
just
experience
confuse
is
the
people
issue.
don't read
Yeah.
footnotes. It's gotta be big bold letters.
I mean,
Yeah,
what
just
I could do
confused.
is fade back pretty much all the lots in the middle and so that we're really looking at the road
Yeah.
and the
I
stop
think
that
signs.
might be
That
good,
might be
yeah.
a way, that might be a quick way of doing that so that I don't put a lot of time into it in developing.
Do that.
And then the other thing too is that $3,000 estimate from Perkiomen Township was not for the speed tables that we're talking about right now. So we're gonna have a different figure for the install of these two are gonna be more than
We'll cross that
3,000.
bridge. when
Well, I
we
just
get
wanted
to it.
you to-
Let's-
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
not get no further here.
Right.
We'll be here till midnight. So let's move forward here.
I gave you guys just some estimates I've gotten so far for the boardroom renovations. I'm still working on some other costs.
Okay.
Are we gonna do something about acoustics in there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Any new business?
I do have something. I'm gonna keep it quick because I know everybody's pressed for time. So I wanted to share with my fellow supervisors and everybody in the room. I'm an employee of the Pennsylvania Association of Realtors, and part of my job includes community outreach. I do a lot of community outreach in 52 of the 67 counties of Pennsylvania. That does not include Montgomery County. However, I've been working with some of my colleagues in Montgomery County in expressing some ideas. And some of these ideas include a lot of grant dollars that I've been able to collect via the National Association of Realtors for 52 of the 67 counties across the state. And I'd like to be able to use these monies here locally. So what am I talking about? I did print out only about 7 or 8 copies of a couple different things. The first things first is called placemaking. Placemaking, more or less, is different types of things that I would share with the Parks and Rec Committee. I know they were meeting this Monday. I'd like to share this with them, not necessarily with the permission, but more or less wanted to give everybody in here a heads up that I'm going to be sharing this with them. Again, these are monies that can be used to create a park or something very similar here locally in the township. I can tell you I've had over 10 years of experience of collecting dollars to be able to utilize those monies in creating different types of parks or things that you see here in these photos, and I can share with anybody that does not have a copy.
So just one quick question,
Go
does
for
it
it.
have to be equipment, could it be like, let's say at a park you wanted to put up a pavilion where people could come and take painting classes?
You could do a pavilion,
Or if
technically.
you wanted to put, you know, a pollinator garden?
So let me use the word that they use. They use the word placemaking. What does placemaking mean? Placemaking means a place where people can congregate. And you'll see in these photos, it includes parklets, it includes pocket parks, alley renovations, which we don't have here, trail, pedestrian paths, community gardens,
So really everything, okay.
playgrounds and fitness areas, dog parks, pretty much all of that stuff.
Just
So,
like signage.
again,
How about speed bumps?
no.
Different kind of grant. You can't get grants for
That's a different
those.
grant.
That's a different kind of grant.
I
The
wish
money
I
is
could,
available.
but that's not happening.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Coffee with the
so,
speed bumps?
long story short, I'd like to propose that I speak to the Parks and Rec board on Monday, share this with them. Again, this stuff is gonna come right before us again, before anything gets approved. But I just want, again, to share with you guys the heads up that I've done this elsewhere, and I'd like to be able to find monies to use here locally. That's number one. Do you have questions?
I have one more question.
Yeah.
So our experience with grants is that like, we put up a percentage and then like maybe like 20% or 15%. Do you know like what the matching funds is for some of these?
Depends on what we're doing, depends on how much money is needed for the particular project.
They all have matching funds.
Well, no, not necessarily. So, again, this is not grants that are coming from your taxpayer dollars on the state or federal level. These are grants that are coming from dues dollars that realtors pay to the National Association of Realtors.
So these are
Again,
not
I
public
am,
funds.
these are not public funds. So, again, I am an employee of the Pennsylvania Association of Realtors. I do this. Part of my job is municipal outreach, but also a secondary part of my job is community outreach. And again, I've done this successfully in other areas, and I can give you guys examples of where I've done it recently across the state. A couple of years ago, we just did one in the Danville area where we put together a park, particularly for disabled kids. So the disabled kids could come out and they could use it. Did the very same thing in the borough of Frackville, which is in Schuylkill County. Montour County, we did a mountain bike trail. Apparently Montour County is really big on mountain bike riding. So again, these are all different examples of different things that could be done.
Do you know offhand if those funds can be used as match for public funds?
Yes, they can.
There you go.
Cannot exceed $200,000,
Right.
but I don't think we're gonna be looking at a project that near in the future. That would
Yeah,
be
that
specifically
big.
that type
Yeah.
of project.
Because if we have projects that we want to do, there's DCNR money that's available in grants. They do require a match, and you can't use other public funds other than your municipal funds. A lot of times, there's some restrictions on what you can use for grants. But if these funds can be married with other grant applications,
Yes.
then you've just really doubled your ability to get anything done.
That's correct. That's number one. I do have a second one unless there's any other questions about that.
Just a question,
Yeah.
Chuck. Have you gotten a chance to go to Colonial Park yet?
Yeah, I've been there, but I
Okay.
haven't actually walked around it or anything.
Yeah,
like
anyway,
that.
I mean, for what you say, Colonial Park may be an interesting area to target.
Yeah, absolutely is. They're looking at things that are gonna be more or less shovel-ready. And of course, we can look at this in a few years from now or next year, whenever Colonial Park would be ready to become shovel-ready. I will tell you that I have specifically worked in counties where we've used multiple grants. So for example, let's say we did something here in 2018, that doesn't preclude me to ask for another grant in 2019, 2020. What the issue is, I can't use those same grant dollars for the same exact project the
Right.
following year.
Of course,
So if it's
yeah.
a new project, I could go ahead and do that.
Got it.
Now, the difference is, there's also funds that change from year to year based on their budget at the national level.
Contributions, yeah,
Yeah. Any other questions about that?
that's great.
One other quick thing is, so that's what was called placemaking. The next thing is called smart growth. When I was interviewed with my 8 fellow residents for this vacant position, I did note that I have a lot of background in smart growth. What's smart growth? Smart growth, everybody has a different definition for it, but smart growth really incorporates usability of land, making sure that we're keeping open space, but we're efficiently using what we have. Again, smart growth has different definitions to anybody that's utilizing it. You're gonna see here a number of different states that have utilized what is called smart growth grants, again, via the National Association of Realtors. I should have started with this, I have been the grant liaison for all of Pennsylvania. You will see one grant in here that I did for the Berks County area a number of years ago. But I can tell you right now, very recently, Tioga County, if anybody knows Tioga County, if you don't know, it's in north central Pennsylvania. It borders the state of New York. I worked with their planning commission this year, and we put together a comprehensive poll. So we did a phone poll of residents to learn their thoughts about future growth and development. We're talking about this stuff right now in a lot of these meetings, particularly within the planning commission. This is another way that we can save taxpayer dollars and be able to use it elsewhere. So I'm more than happy to discuss this specific grant with the planning commission at their next meeting, if they allow me. And again, that stuff would come back to the board so that we can have further discussion based on any input that they have.
That sounds like it would tie in with the effort to do a comprehensive
I
plan.
was just thinking of
Correct.
that.
It definitely would dovetail really nice.
Could we use this kind of money to again, support the production of a comprehensive plan?
Yes, again, just this year with Tioga County, it's probably the best example. Another couple of quick examples, we've used these grants to bring in speakers to different county levels and municipal level government to discuss how to potentially rewrite a zoning ordinance or a comprehensive plan or whatever it might be. I'm not necessarily suggesting that we do that, but I certainly think we have had that discussion about looking forward to knowing what the residents in Lower Frederick Township want. This whole, or something similar to it, could be an example. Again, for anybody that doesn't have, I'm happy to share with you, but every state that's listed here has different examples, and some are not going to be appropriate for this area, obviously, for different reasons, whether